Good afternoon, and welcome to the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved. I'm, of course, your host, Justin Bienvenue. Thought I would go live a little early today. Not exactly feeling up to the weather right now. Feel a little tired, but we're going to try to do this episode regardless. So, also because I didn't do last week's, and not that anybody notices, not that anyone cares, but yes. So, the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved will be on something a little different. And by different, I mean very different. We've done mysterious disappearances, mysterious deaths. We've done the Bermuda Triangle, people disappearing off the face of the earth, you name it. But never have we ever done this. Never have I ever done an episode quite like this. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mystery Unsolved, the Kentucky Meat Shower. What the hell is that, Justin? I'm about to tell you, and we're about to get educated at the same damn time. Apparently, this was a thing, and it happened. Why it's not talked about enough, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. But without further ado, the Kentucky Meat Shower. The Kentucky Meat Shower was an incident occurring for a period of several minutes between 11 a.m. and 12 noon on March 3rd, 1876. Yeah, 1876 this happened. Where what appeared to be chunks of red meat fell from the sky in a 100 by 50 yards, 90 by 45 meters area near Olympia Springs in Bath County, Kentucky. There exist several explanations from blood rain to vulture ejecta as to how this occurred and what the meat was. Although the exact type of meat was never identified, various reports suggested it was beef, lamb, deer, bear, or horse. So, yeah, there are a couple huge issues with this, and I haven't even got into it. Despite various theories, the exact cause of the Kentucky meat shower remains a subject of speculation and mystery. So we're going to get into it. But first of all, let's just address the two big elephants in the room, right? Elephants are big, Justin. Let's address the two elephants in the room then, shall we? One, planes didn't exactly exist in 1876, right? At least not the ones we know. Planes did not exist. And so meat falling from the sky is naturally going to be odd to begin with. But the fact that it's coming down and planes don't exist, well, there goes that. Scratch that. Throw that idea out the window. Also, it was identified as beef, lamb, deer, bear, and horse. Last I checked, guys, lambs, deer, bears, and horses don't fly. Lucky a pig wasn't in there because, But they don't fly, so why were. Yeah. Let's get into this, shall we? On March 3rd, 1876, a farmer's wife, Mrs. Crouch, was making soap on her porch when she reported seeing a piece of meat fall from the sky. She said she was 40 steps from her house, when the meat began to hit the ground. Mrs. Crouch and her husband believed the event was a sign from God. The phenomenon was covered by Scientific American, the New York Times, and other publications. I mean, I feel like if God's going to give you a sign of any kind, why would he? I ask, if God's going to give you a sign, for whatever reason, in any way, why would it be from having chunks of meat fall from the sky? That's a very peculiar way of God saying to you, hey, I want you to pay attention. I mean, that is a way to get someone to pay attention, but Meat falling from the sky isn't exactly heavenly divine. Heavenly bovine? Most of the pieces of meat were approximately 2 by 2 inches. At least one was 4 by 4 inches. The meat appeared to be beef, but according to the first report in the Scientific American, two men who tasted it judged it to be possibly lamb or deer. Okay. Okay, listen. I understand that when meat falls from the sky, not that it ever happens, not that it's ever happened since, right? But like, I understand that if a peculiar piece of meat just randomly falls from the sky, I can understand people being like, "What type of meat is it?" and wanting to taste it. But you don't know. It fell from the sky. Why would you? Why would you do that? Before I read any further, if I hear no explanation about these men, like if these men aren't sick afterwards, I'm perplexed. Why would you taste the meat? Someone had to do it. Well, sure, someone had to do it. Absolutely true. Okay. Wow. Writing in the sanitarium, Leopold Brandeis identified the substance as nostoc, a type of cyan bacteria. Brandeis gave the meat sample to the Newark Scientific Association for further analysis, leading to a letter from Dr. Alan McLean Hamilton appearing in the medical record stating that the meat had been identified as lung tissue from either a horse or a human infant, the structure of the organ in these two cases being almost identical. Okay. I knew we were going to get something bizarre, but I didn't know it was going to be this. Holy crap. The composition of this sample was backed by further analysis, with two samples of the meat being identified as lung tissue, three as muscle, and two as cartilage. So here I am picturing like a small mini steak falling from the ground, or like just a chunk of meat. No, it's like tissue. So not only does it not look like meat, but it's like lung tissue. And it might have been from an infant or a horse. And those two men, I'm gonna go back to these two men for all I can. These two men were like, "Oh, I wonder what it tastes like." That's not meat you should be ingesting, gentlemen. Brandis' Gnostic theory relied on the fact that nostoc expands into a clear jelly-like mass when rain falls on it, often giving it the sense that it was falling with the rain. Charles Font noted in his first book, The Book of the Damned, that there had been no rain. Locals favored the explanation that the meat was vomited by buzzards, who, in their custom, seeing one of their companions disgorge himself, immediately followed suit. Dr. Louis D. Castenbein presented this theory in the contem- contemporaneous Louisville Medical News as the best explanation of the variety of meat. Vultures vomit as part of making a quick escape and also as a defense method when threatened. Well, I just learned something new today. Can you imagine if you approached a vulture and the vulture was for some reason afraid of you? It would be like, "Brah." Can you imagine if people did that? Oh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, bro? Blah. Oh God, this is such a nutty episode. Fort examined the flattened, dry appearance of the meat chunks as the result of pressure, and noted that on 9 and noted that 9 days later, on March 12th, 1876, red corpuscles with a vegetable appearance fell over London, Kentucky. I don't fucking know. So I have another issue. So the people believe this. They believe that the vultures vomited it. And I can believe that. Except there's one huge flaw. You said it was lung tissue. Is lung tissue from an animal considered meat? It's tissue. It's not meat. There's issue number one. Issue number two, you said it either came from a horse or a human infant. Why would human infant lung tissue be up in the sky, and why would a vulture be vomiting it? Like, there's way more questions that need to be asked if that's the case. And also, a horse. Like, vultures don't kill horses. Last time I checked. I mean, although I suppose what's a group of vultures called? I don't know. We're gonna have to call them a group of vultures for the sake of argument, because I don't feel like looking it up. There's no time. It's not worth it to look up. But a group of vultures could have come across a dead horse, and maybe they pecked at the horse and ate it. Then they went up into the sky and they upchucked it. That makes sense. The second one, it being human infant, let's just not go there, because that's diabolical and it makes no sense to me. And that's a way bigger issue and case than this needs to be. So if we're to believe that a group of vultures, whatever they might be called, approached a dead horse, they didn't beat a dead horse. They only ate it. And then went up in the sky, and then maybe the vultures were threatened when they were in the sky by other birds. Or maybe the vultures were like, "Oh, this meat tastes kind of weird. What is this?" Because of course it's lung tissue from a horse, and this doesn't agree with me. And one vomits, and the other one, and they all follow suit. Hence the Kentucky meat show. That makes sense to me, right? Oh my goodness. In 2024, the Bath County Historical History Museum opened an exhibit for the Kentucky Meat Shower, showcasing a preserved piece from the event. Absolutely wild. That's the only theory we have. This is going to be a very short episode, but so be it. It kind of needs to be. I'm glad it is. Do we have any other theories? Not really, right? Cause inconclusive, possibly regurgitating vultures. Maybe a flying animal, maybe not a vulture, although it's meat. So, but maybe there's another big giant ass bird other than a vulture. Maybe a crane. Cranes aren't native to Kentucky, Justin. I don't know. What do you think happened? Do you have any theories whatsoever besides the fact that maybe it was just regurgitating vultures? Because if you do, I'd love to hear. And it only happened once. So here's the other. Okay, let's just expand on this a little bit, shall we? How has this only happened like once or even twice? Because it said there was vegetables later on in London, Kentucky. But how has this not been seen since 1876? Have vultures learned their lessons since back then? Hey guys, what other vultures know? Don't eat a horse and then fly into the air. You're just gonna vomit it out. And then the humans down there are gonna call it the great meat shower of whatever. It's just it's so baffling. How is this? I mean, it's such a rare, bizarre phenomena, but I find it hard to believe that it's only happened once. If we're supposed to believe that vultures are the cause, because I imagine birds just upchuck stuff all the time. So is it really that hard to believe that birds in the last 100 plus years haven't regurgitated meat? This is the only meat shower we've ever had in 100 plus years? I don't get it. You know what I mean? I like, you know what? I'm gonna go on a whim here and say that maybe the theory is. My theory is maybe there's more theories out there that we're just not thinking of. Maybe it was some strange. I don't know. Maybe it was another animal, but vulture seems most likely. I don't know. I think there's something more to it. I really do. But yeah, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Kentucky meat shower of 1876. Very short video. I wish there was more to go on. I could probably read another article, but what's the point? I think we've gotten everything we need to get out of it. Do stay tuned for next week's episode, as I will be talking about something else just as bizarre as the Kentucky meat shower. Oh, Justin, what is this? What are you doing? So stay tuned next week, next Friday, as the next episode of Mystery Unsolved will be on the Oakville Blobs. Is it more meat? I don't know. You'll have to tune in to find out. For Mystery Unsolved, this has been Justin.